As we go through a spiritual awakening, we tend to have vivid dreams. They become much more colorful, much more vivid, much more vibrant, much more emotion buried within them comes to the surface. Now, for me, before I awakened as an adult, I had this recurring nightmare, which just brought up so much fear in me. It would happen, and it happened more and more frequently up until the point I awakened, and even after that. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit and just highlight how these dreams and these fears, these nightmares could actually be opportunities to heal. We're being shown something by our guides, by our higher self, that is in the way, blocking their energy from coming through. So I had this recurring nightmare. Let me start back when I was a kid. My parents' basement, the house I grew up here outside of Chicago in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, had a basement. My dad had finished the basement, and he had put up a wall along the basement with a door, and the door was hidden. You couldn't really see it, but you open the door and you could go back to a storage area that was unfinished. So we had a finished part and a storage part. And I started having nightmares when I was younger about what was lurking behind that door in that unfinished part. And I remember experiencing gray aliens. That was the fear I had, tremendous fear of these gray aliens in that basement. And I would just have, even in a dream, the nightmare, it was so frightening. But even when I would go down there in real life, I was terrified to go in that back room. I always thought there were grays there. Okay. So I had that through childhood. Now, as an adult, around the time I awakened, I started having dreams where I was in this house, and a big, huge basement, a big house, big basement. I live in a ranch now. It's a fairly decent sized ranch, and it's got a big basement as well. So I guess I kind of attributed it to this house, this very big basement. But in this basement was a room, and I was terrified to go in this room. And when I would go into this room, there was some sort of a monster, like a monster. I couldn't even give you a visualization as to what this monster was. It was just such a terrifying image or feeling that I really blocked what it looked like. I really wasn't able to see it, but I was able to feel it. It was this tremendous fear. And I remember even when I would open the door to go down in the basement, I would be very hesitant to take steps because I knew this monster lived there. So this reminded me of these dreams that I would have as a kid in my parents' house. Even the feelings of during my waking state, walking into this basement, going into that storage room, I remember my mom would say, "Hey, Mark, run downstairs and see if you could find this or that or whatever." And I'd be like, "Okay." And I'd go down there, and I would always expect there'd be some sort of an ET or gray alien back in that room. Very, very terrifying. So these started coming back up again around my awakening, a little bit of a variation. The monster was a lot bigger, and it was unseen. It was more of an emotion, more of a feeling. So I have my awakening experience, and these dreams intensify. They become much more vivid, much more emotion arises out of them. And right around the time the Galactics came in, I realized that they had really intensified. Now, the Galactics were working with me because I had this fear of ETs, a fear of grays. And the grays actually really started it all for me when I was very, very little, with these recurring nightmares that I would have once a year with the being coming into my bedroom. So very ingrained fear of that. Now, here the Galactics are, they're coming forward, and they appear in my foyer one morning as shafts of light. But what's happening is during that time is they're working with me. They're bringing their presence. They're bringing awareness to me, which is giving rise to these dreams. So these dreams kicked up because their presence was here. That energy was starting to move through me. So on a subconscious level, during my dreams, I was actually reflecting out these fears of these ETs and creating this monster. So one night I wake up with a sleep paralysis episode, and I think I've mentioned this before in videos. And just as I had seen the three shafts of light standing in my foyer on that Friday morning, standing over my bed at 3 a.m. were three dark beings with red eyes, and very tall, very thin, just staring at me. And in fact, I reached out to one, and it reached out to me. So I knew they were real. They had responded to what I had done. they were really reflected out in my reality. And I realized the next day, with the help of my guide, that it was the polarized, polaristic view of these galactic beings. They were coming through my field, this energy was coming through my body, and it was reflecting out the fears that were blocking the coherent connection with them. So they had made themselves known in my field, in my reality. And then I went to work, and they had helped me with clearing the blockages. And as soon as I made that connection, the dreams stopped. The basement dreams stopped. It just gone. Think of, like, if you're a coffee, I'm not a coffee drinker, but you pour the water in through the coffee grounds and it comes out like murky. It comes out like mud. It looks like mud, right? The color of coffee, obviously. What's happening is, when we have this high frequency light hit our field and it moves through our body, any gunk, any dense energy it encounters makes it, from this beautiful high frequency clear light, it becomes opaque, cloudy, and that's what reflects out into the reality. So the galactics were there in the morning, clear as day, like just clear water. Think of it that way. Middle of the night, they come through my field, and the fear arises, and they project out as these dark, demonic looking beings, okay, which really was a reflection of the fear that they were helping me to observe and feel. And I did that. I remember I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Looked over, there they were, reached out, they reached back, freaked out, felt all this. And the next morning, I communicated with my guide. He let me know that they were part of me. They were moving through me and reflecting out what was blocked. So I worked through that. These dreams of the basement stopped. And then something very interesting happened shortly after that. I started having visions of that very basement in my parents' house. And I mentally took myself down the stairs into that basement. Now, my parents sold that house 20-ish years ago. So they had been out of there for a long time. But I mentally, just like I was there yesterday, took myself down the stairs into that basement, and something amazing happened. I saw a fire in the corner of that basement. It was like a furnace. And out from that furnace jumped my spirit guide and jumped my Pleiadian guide. They actually came out into that space. And since then, I'm able to retreat to that space. I call it my heart portal, okay, down in that basement. And I retreat to that space. And through that flame is my multidimensional world. It's a portal. And my guides will jump in and out of that. And as going through my awakening, the blockage that was there was that fear of these ETs. And we know these ETs, even our guides, they're higher dimensional beings. So I had a subconscious block. I had a trauma there from when I was a kid, that was ready to be healed. It was preventing me from getting into that heart space and into that heart portal. So they were showing me what needed to be felt, what needed to be clear, so that I could open up and expand and ground more of my higher frequency energy, more of my consciousness. And since I did that, that basement now represents a space where I could literally walk down into that space, and I could sit there in the presence of that flame and move in and out of this reality into others. It's a doorway, and that is the heart space portal. I've done videos on that in the past. So definitely check those out. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Right away, we go to good and bad and demonic and whatever it may be when we have these types of situations. We're being attacked by negative energy. Everything we experience is us. So these dense frequencies that reflect out as darkness, as fear, is energy that is us. We are just bringing awareness. We're bringing consciousness to the table so that we could accept these aspects of us and bring them back into the mix. And once we do that, our frequency will rise. And as our frequency rises, the coffee color, the grounds, the darkness starts to get clearer, okay? Less opaque, more translucent. And that's our frequency rising. And that allows for a clearer connection to the higher realms, to the higher frequency energy to come through, so that we could perceive it for what it truly is. Remember, these experiences, these fears, these anxieties, these whatever it may be that doesn't feel so good is for our growth. It's all for our highest good. If you could remember that, you are going to start to really pick up momentum and sail through this process. So I hope this video helped you guys. If it did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already. I would greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment below if you're experiencing anything like this. Talked to somebody just this morning. Dreams are getting more and more vivid. I'm having them too. Very vivid dreams. Pay attention to what you're feeling in those dreams, because things are coming up in that 4D space for you to alchemize and integrate. So take advantage of that process. Bring awareness to the table as always. But definitely leave a comment below. If you know anyone that this video can help, please share it. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.